need to look like pictures. And that's really your goal here, is to create a view that's going to go into a catalog and or the internet so that your company can use it to market and sell the product. That's really what your goal here is. Now, to do that, you can do it a couple different ways. As you model through, you can consider that the object is going to be displayed in a standalone environment, or it's going to be in some scene showing it in production. Now, I have a couple examples for you just to kind of look at. Now, if you think it's going to be a standalone type of an object, okay, here's one that a prior student did, where it was a camera. Now, this one doesn't really need a scene per se, because it's a standalone object. So therefore, the view was created in that we wanted this to be the primary focus and nothing around it to take away from it. And then this would be on the internet or something of that nature. Example of standalone. Now, notice that there are a few things going on with this that you need to take into account, in that right now we've done pretty much global objects except for the butterfly valve, where you've taken an object, you've unioned everything together, and you got one object at the end. You can't do this with these types of machines you folks are bringing in, and you're going to find out why in today's talk. But when you get this, if I union this all together, it would be one blob of one item. Okay? There's a lot of different items here. What we'll do is we'll model them in space, but you do not union them together. An example would be these buttons on the top. Now, the reason for this is you can apply materials in AutoCAD to an object. In essence, what you do is you put a skin on it, and it appears like that object. But you can only print with one material per object. Okay, so if I have something that's going to appear different than another object, I can't union it to it, because I can't apply two materials to it. I can apply one white plastic body to this thing, and we actually used a vinyl. But when I came to these, we used a black marble. Now, it's not really black and marble, it's actually an aluminum that was placed up there, but we tried to model it so that it looked really trick. And so many times we use different materials than what we end up with. The idea here is to sell the object. You come into here, you notice there's a bunch of different colors through here. This is actually modeled as glass in here. Obviously, that's your viewing range. So you can do glass where you can actually look through an object also. Okay. You'll have reflected light, you'll have all of that going on. Point being, this is a standalone. When you model these things, put the objects where they belong with the machine, but do not union them together. Now, another thing that might work for you, I couldn't find my really good one this morning, or one that was very apparent, but here's one where a scene was created. Now, this one has pictures used with it. The model's in it. It's kind of hard to see, but we got a paint palette here, we got a paintbrush and the easel and everything that went with that. Okay, that was the model. Then what we did is we just ended up taking pictures, and we mapped those pictures onto surfaces. Okay. This in the background, this is a big old rectangle, and it just had this picture mapped onto it. So this was basically selling the fact that, hey, you can go ahead and paint this well, you know, but a scene was created where everything's solid model in here, but pictures have been mapped to it. This is just think of it like a concrete block, but it looks like this picture, and then we mapped the same picture onto here so that it looked like somebody is standing there doing this. She tried to get the paintbrush up there, and I tried to get her to where she put a mechanical arm on there, but she ran out of time. The lady that did this one. So this is creating a scene. I have one more around here that I think really demonstrates the best, and I just couldn't locate it. And it's of a little car. And the student on that one went and modeled also a highway to go with it, and put the car and copied it a couple times like it is in a Grand Prix race. Looked really trick, but it sold the automobile, what it ended up doing. So you might approach this from two different routes. It's going to be a standalone object that goes into a catalog, or you're going to put it in some type of scene and how the thing is going to be used. As you look up there, you know, there's a tank, I think there's a train, Now, if I was doing a train, I would probably figure I've got to model a railroad track and put it on it. The tank, Andy ran out of time on that one. I'm going to do a building that was blown up. Now it's like he shot it or something, but we never got that far again on that either. So that's kind of what your end goal is here. Now, we're going to print this stuff with photo paper. Okay, and they'll come out looking a lot better than they do on your screen. But we'll do some test prints before we get to there. So that's kind of where we're going with this. Now, once you create the solid, that should be, as you go through your process, figure by next Wednesday we got Monday as a holiday, so I'll push it till Thursday. Next Thursday, we want to have this project done because we need to start drawing on our structures that we're going to do for architectural. Okay, so you have till next Thursday we'll be printing, so do your timeline accordingly. As you go through the modeling process, please spend a little bit of time in the text also, chapters 17, 18, and 19. You don't model for a couple hours, spend a half hour in the text and go through 5-10 pages. Then go back to your drawing. Just kind of keep your day moving in that fashion. Don't quit on the book. Okay, there's too much in there for me to go over. Chapter 17 is how you apply materials to the object. And this follows how you're going to go through the render process or creating this picture. First thing you do is apply materials. Second thing you do is you apply the lighting. The lighting is the hard part. It really is. To get something to look good, the lighting is key, and it is tough to get done good, where it looks nice. And then the last part is using the commands in AutoCAD to create what we call a render or the picture. So keep going through that. We also have in 19, there is their visualization section. We really don't create a visual thing, but you can create a movie that looks like the object's moving. Stuff of that nature. So we have those options. What I'd like to do today is really just kind of run through the materials browser just a little bit, and this is in chapter 17, but I'm not really going to point out any pages. I'm going to give you just the hot spots of it. Okay, so if you would, open any solid that you have. Once you open the solid, you may want to do a file save as again, or figure you're going to close this down without saving it because you don't want the stuff attached to it. That's what we're doing. Remember this as you go through the process. You want to, whenever you're creating a scene, or what we call a render, you want to always apply your material first, your light second. So completely model the material first. Now the reason I say to do that, it's going to cut down on your editing time because the lights will change the look of the material substantially as you place lights. So you want that material on there how you wish it to be first, then you start applying lights and adjusting lights. Now where all this stuff is located in your ribbons is on the Visualize ribbon. So if you would go to that ribbon.
Where are you?
On your Visualize ribbon. Okay, so up here you have all your UCS stuff through your visual styles to here. From here on over, the rest of this ribbon is the render process. It starts with lights. It comes into sun. You can place this a certain place on the planet and do sun studies on it and things of that nature. Here's your material stuff right in here that we're going to go over today. This stuff right here, this is for creating cameras or scenes that move, movies. And then your render materials over here. In essence, this is the 3 chapters is covering this portion of the deal. Has everybody got a solid on their screen? Okay. All right, let's go into the materials and let's look how that works. So if you come into materials, there's three tasks up there. There's material browser, textures on, material mapping. You can get to all of them from this little sideways one. Remember, that usually opens a style dialog box. So go ahead and open that if you would. And you're going to get this little box. All objects have a material on them when you create them. Usually it is dictated by the layer. That's what you're looking at here is this global one. Why this thing appears yellow? Because it's sitting on my OBJ layer and it has applied a yellow color to it. Okay. Now what we really want to do is get something else on here. When you open the materials box right here, the style box, you'll see all the materials in this drawing. Keep in mind, materials are a drawing setting. So if you open a drawing and load a bunch of materials into it, it's only in that drawing. It won't be in future drawings. Okay, so you have to kind of move these back and forth or copy them. Now, if you do an XREF or you Control-C a solid and put it into another drawing, if it's got a material assigned to it, that all comes with it. Okay, it all comes with it because it's attached to the drawing. All right, so let's look at some of the materials we have by default. So down at the bottom, you have 2 little buttons on this box. So my cursor's down here hovering around it. The one on the right is the one you want to go into, and this is your materials browser. So I'm going to open that one, and I'm going to kind of stretch this box out a little bit so I can see it. Did everybody's open up to just an AutoCAD, Autodesk library right here? And then you have a bunch of things, starts with like browns, goes to blues.
No, which ones did you click?
That one right there.
Yeah.
Okay. Now these are all kind of generic ones. Generally what you're going to do is you're going to take a material off of here, you're going to drag it up into this section. This section right here is displaying what you have in the drawing. Okay, so you're in essence, by dragging it from this screen to this one, you're adding it to your drawing to be used. Now you have a whole bunch of stuff in here. As a general rule of materials, there are 2 ways you're going to apply them. If you don't know exactly what it is, you're going to go find a material that is very close to what you want. And then you will edit that material for specific things you want to look like. If you got a real life object of a material, like CSI, let's look at CSI. We have the same red brick on every single building here. In fact, CSI is pretty proud of that look. Every building that is done, it is mandated that it has that brick on it. And it probably will be for all time. Now, if I know I'm getting ready to do a building for CSI, and I did the solid of that, what I would do is I'd go out and take a picture of that brick. And I can then take that picture and put it on a material, and I can map it on any surface. And it's going to look just like it because I have now the weathered look from a picture, which you can't get from a new one, right? So you can take a picture of anything you want. If you wanted this, your tabletop, you wanted it for a material, and you couldn't find it in, you take your camera out, take a little picture of it, and you can put it in here as a material. These are just skins, they're pictures that we're putting on surfaces. Now you have a lot of options here that will get you pretty close though. That's not really mandatory to do. Right here under Autodesk Library, if you grab that drop down arrow. You can see all the different categories that you have. Everybody seems to like wood. Let's go to a wood category, including me. Something about wood, right? It's just comfortable. People like the look of it. They like the feel of it. Let's go choose the wood classification. Now, your desktops are a cherry. So what I then do is come down through here, and let's say we're going to model our desktop onto this object we have back out here. Come down through here and try and find a cherry type of wood. Okay, so I just come and, let's see, they got a little bit of reflection to them, so we probably want a medium gloss on those. maybe a little darker.
Why does it say they're locked?
Because down in here they are. It's not unlocked, won't be unlocked till we use it. So I'm just going to grab one of these cherries with a medium gloss. Now I'm going to left click on it, and I'm going to drag up to the top area where it says global and let up. And you should see that material go to that location. Did everybody get that to take? Okay. Now, if you wanted to edit this, right, in essence, what you would do is double click it, and you should now see your style change to it. Okay. Now, what you'd probably want to do is make a copy or rename this thing, but now you can come in and you can see the colors it's using right here. Here's a stain color. It's gone to the real color palette, and it's using 3 colors. If you want it a little bit darker, you can just go ahead and choose this down, choose a little bit darker color. If you want to have a little more shine, you would take it, do a little bit more varnish on it. So you can edit this to the look that you want. Okay? So that's how you would edit it. And it kind of gives you a picture. I can't really zoom in on this, but notice on the image up above, on that, you see where my cursor's hovering around, you see that? Notice it's got a little bit of grain in it. There's actually what's called a bump map applied to this. So you can come in and make that a little bit thicker so it looks like it's got a little more grain to it. You can do a lot of different things to the picture. But in essence, all it is a picture that you are now editing. Now, how you apply it to a material is from your original browser. You need to be able to see your model. I'm just going to come over here and say I like what's going on here. I'm going to left click on my wood, hold down, drag out onto my object, and let up. Did your material change
No. How do you
No.
on the physical solid? If you,
Can you do that
Yeah,
process
can you do that again?
okay, now hold on, it's probably got it. But visual styles, now remember, if you had this set on 2D wireframe or something, it's not going to show you a surface. Choose conceptual or real life or